What's up, everybody, and welcome to a special webinar today where I've got my fellow Arte Syndicate member, Rob Cressy. Rob and I were jamming, and I'm gonna give you a little backstory. We were talking a little over a week ago, and even before that, Rob's been sending me all this stuff about, hey, here's what I'm doing with AI. Here's what you could do with AI. And he's just like giving. His posts had me curious. I was like, hey, I'm not doing that. And then I would ask him a follow-up question of like, well, what should I be doing? And I just think we're probably all, if we're honest, feeling a little bit like, we know a little bit, enough to be dangerous, but we're wondering, like, what if we knew a little bit more? What's our competition doing? What if I knew how to really curate content and work with things like ChatGPT and other tools that are out there, Claude and all these others, and I could create almost a system and a process that I could actually use AI to my advantage versus it feeling like this tug of war, like I don't really know what I'm doing. And I'm the first one to admit is like, I know enough to do a few things. And then I talked to Rob and I realized I probably know a fraction of 1%. And so part of today's conversation is just, we're going to invite you in to wherever you are. You may not even be on anything yet, like super beginner, like I was, or you may be somebody you're like, I could teach classes. I am teaching classes today on AI. I would just tell you this and ask you to consider, there's so much more. There's so much more out there. And so as Rob and I were talking last week, I said, man, we got to bring this to the people. We got to bring this to our audience because it would be selfish for me to keep this conversation in what Rob has learned in somebody that has spent thousands upon thousands of hours there. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring Rob on because guys, that's who you came to hear. I am not the expert. I get to learn with you. So Rob, welcome.
Brian, super excited to be here. I appreciate this. And here's how I'm going to start this. I feel a responsibility to share what I've learned and seen and experienced in this because I know almost nobody knows somebody who is operating at this level of AI. But side note, I do not have an AI background. I do not have a tech background. And this is important because one of the big barriers that people put in front of themselves is I am not ... right? They think the people who are using AI are somehow these tech wizards. I used ChatGPT the first week, came out in beta, and within the first minute, felt like I used the internet for the first time. Immediately, I saw what the next decade of business was going to look like, and I was like, I'm all in. So I think one of the things that we can do today, and we titled this The High Performer's Guide to Growing with AI, because Brian, obviously I know you and your audience, how you guys get down, and I want to offer the perspectives of the little nuggets that I've learned along the way that can help you with no tech background, no AI background, in a human first perspective that is completely aligned to who you are, and make this simple and easy because it actually is.
Dude, I love that. And that's a great way to start because this is for the high performer. And I think for everybody, our audience, I like to think we attract some people that are high performers, different industries and all that. But for those that are out there, like we all want to be a high performer. And I think about whether it's in the office or out of the office. Let's start here, man. Let's go back to your journey. Cause I think a lot of people relate to what you just said. It's like the first time you open ChatGPT and it's like, what in the world? And like, where has this thing been? All of that there. Let's take them back to where you started and then we'll jump into some of the nuggets and the things of what you're doing now.
Yeah, in November 2022, I get a text message from my friend Jeff who goes, hey, Rob, check out this thing called ChatGPT. And Jeff is forward thinking. He's an entrepreneur like me. And I clicked on it. And then you're like most people, you're like, well, what do I do? So you just like, you put in one thing. And I'm already a master creator. I don't have a lack of confidence because I've earned my confidence over more than a decade in the way that I create and coach and show up every day in life as a high performer. I identify as a high performer. I work with high performers. So it's like there's a certain way that I show up to things. And I legitimately couldn't believe the thing that I was using was real and it was $0, right? So imagine being great at what you do already, and then you were just given a magic wand. And that's legitimately what I saw there. And what ended up happening for me is because I, air quotes, couldn't believe what I was saying, I was like, all right, I'm going to try and break this. I'm going to try and create things that took me hours, months, years to do. And I'm going to see how fast that I can do this. And it was like the speed of lightning where I watched something like back in the day, I used to have a service where I would create social media strategies for brands, right? So a lot of brands, they do content, but if that person who's doing content leaves, they're back at zero again. So it would take me maybe a month to build a brand strategy and a social media strategy. I legitimately built it in about 3 minutes. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? So then my lens was push the limit, what can it do? What can it do? And every single time it was like, brr, brr, I was like, I cannot believe this. So I caught what you would call the bug, meaning I couldn't sleep. I couldn't stop thinking about this. I was using ChatGPT hours a day. So like work all day, done. I'm back in ChatGPT. I'm creating because I saw something that I had never seen before. And this is very important because for a lot of people and high performers, they need to be convinced that this is the thing for them. There was no convincing me. Within 1 minute, I was all in. All my chips on the table. So I started a private Facebook group at the time and just started sharing what I was creating in ChatGPT because this is how I build in public. This is my brand 101. I'm as authentic and as real as you see here. I will give you everything. I will show you exactly how I'm doing things because my purpose in life is to be a positive force for good that leads others to what's possible. I'm like, look at this. Yeah. Within 2 months, Brian, I had turned myself into having AI coaching as a service, both one-on-one, and I was running a group program. And I just did a simple Google search, ChatGPT coach, ChatGPT mastermind, ChatGPT course. And you know what I found? Nothing. Not a single thing on the entire internet about this. And I was like, let's go. All my chips are on the table. And since then, I estimate that I have done 500 one-on-one coaching hours with entrepreneurs and business leaders. I've done 400 group sessions on top of my own usage for my own brand.
Yes, you've got a lot of hours. So I love that you frame this up because that gives people just a little context of like why I wanted to bring you on is for a lot of us, let's just be real. We have nowhere near the amount of hours. And so I'm always like, who's already done something that I want to do or can teach me so I can accelerate my learning? That's how high performers think, right? How do I get from this point A to point B? And also what you said was really important. Don't want people to miss this is if you're a high performer today, you're always looking for an edge. You're always looking for how can I be better? How can I be faster? How can I do this better? Like your process, your service, whatever. So I know we're going to break some of that down, but dude, to kind of kick us off, what's probably the biggest thing you've learned in the last month around this? Like where it is and maybe where it's going, but it's happening so fast. I'm always just curious of like, what's on your brain right now about AI and where it's going that you're excited or just maybe even you're using?
So I love this. And as a side note, I'm going to highly encourage anybody watching or listening to this right now to take notes on this conversation because it legitimately will change the next decade of your business because I'm doing this for myself. I felt a responsibility to share this with Brian and you, and you're getting exactly what I say to my coaching clients and to my community. And Brian, because I think like a coach, and I never set out to become a coach, I just lived like one for more than a decade until I started to get hired as one. So I think differently. And I keep saying some words or phrases over and over again to my clients, but it also starts with myself. And the number one word I've said over the last month is capacity. So one of the absolute superpower skills in using AI is actually how big you think and dream. Because if you say, hey, ChatGPT, write me a tweet, it'll write you a tweet. If you say, ChatGPT, build me a rocket ship to the moon, it can build you a rocket ship to the moon. So what limits a lot of people is actually themselves. And when you're a high performer and you understand that your only limitation is yourself, well, game on, right? So it's why I use the term shatter your belief ceiling. In the AI era, impossible is going to become a new standard where things will happen that you cannot believe happened, but that's going to be oh my God, welcome to the AI era. So with this, I legitimately, does not force myself, but it's a mindset in my creator tool belt of how big can you think and dream? And I'll give you an example from last night. I'm watching the Timberwolves versus Oklahoma City Thunder game.
Yeah.
I'm a big sports fan. And while I do that, I'm just popping open ChatGPT and I'm cooking on stuff, right? So I practice what I preach. And you don't have to worry about how this happens, right? Because this is the beauty of capacity. AI fills in the capacity on how you build the rocket ship to the moon. So all you need is the desire to say, well, I wonder if I can build a rocket ship to the moon. And then 12 seconds later, AI goes, brrr, and it doesn't mean it gives you the entire blueprint in one prompt, but it's the start of something. So someone said on Twitter, it was like, if you could create anything with AI right now, what would you create? I was like, oh, that's a great question. And I said to myself, I want to create a wearable teleportation device where it is as easy as putting on an Aura ring and I can use it whenever I want. And it's like, Rob, that's absurd. You said you wanted to create a wearable teleportation device. Remember, we are only limited by our own capacity. So simply my ability to be willing to think of, I can create a teleportation device. But guess what? So it goes and creates sort of all of this. And I say, hey, act as if you're Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI who runs ChatGPT. Why? Because I want him to be the expert telling me how to build this thing. But then ChatGPT naturally is like, well, Rob, would you like me to apply this to the way that you're building your community and your coaching business? Because what if we can teleport connection? And I'm like, I was like, tell me more about this lane, right? So with this, I create a wearable teleportation device on my finger. Obviously, how are we going to create that? But don't worry about how you can create that. And when you're in a high performer who is experienced or seen things that very few other people have in the world, our thinking is an absolute superpower. So Brian, the first thing that I want to share around all of this, mindset is the game. And for a high performer, this should be music to your ears. Because what I did not say is you need to spend 100 hours reading or learning or watching tech jargon so you understand what's going on with AI.
That's right.
This is how you think, your mindset around all of this. And Brian, you mentioned to me at the very beginning, Rob, what was your journey? Here's how I frame this: opportunity versus obligation. Are you seeing AI as, oh my God, I've got to keep up with this. How am I going to do this? What am I going to learn? Or do you see this like I did, where I was like, you're telling me this is real and you're giving somebody at my caliber the ability to do this and you can do whatever you want with this? Psh, game on.
Yeah, dude. And I love where this is going because, you know, I've gone in here and I'll give some real life examples. I'd love your feedback for this. Is we went and redevised our entire recruiting process. We redevised our onboarding process. I started to look at things with our content creation. And I even put some variables in there of things like, hey, if I was an elite leader running a $3 billion team, which I have in the past, but today we're not there yet. I'm like, so I love what you're saying there is I want to just share this with people. It's like, I'm thinking as if, where do I want to be in 5 years? But I need to build that from today and being real with it. But you're right. If I'd said, oh, build me a $1 billion business plan for mortgage production, it would have built it. If I say build 3, 5, it's going to build it too. And so I love that you said capacity. One of my friends last week actually told me, you'll love this quote. He said, you know, really for all of us right now, it's the clarity that leads to your capacity. And so what you're saying resonates is if you don't have clarity about where you want to go and that mindset, then your capacity is only limited by your clarity of like, what's your vision? What is it going forward? So we've redevised some things like that. We've used a lot for content creation. But what do you think most people are missing? If you were to say, hey, Brian, for most high performers, especially mortgage, sales, financial advisors, we got real estate, you know, a lot of our audience is that group. What's the big thing they might just be missing today? It's right in front of them. It might be super obvious to you because you spent the hours, but they might be missing today.
There's two of them, and you actually just said it. So one of the phrases that I've been saying a lot in the last 2 weeks to my clients, the more you can see, the more you can see, right? So the more times that you're using AI and creating these use cases, so you're like, all right, well, I can do this for recruitment here, and I can do this for content here. You're seeing, ooh, this. So on day one, you're like, I don't know, what color is the moon? You're like, I can't see how to use AI. But then all of a sudden, the more you do it, like riding a bike, You go from training wheels to no training wheels to popping wheelies. So you can see, because I've learned how to do this. So Brian, number one, and you said this, and there's a distinction. You're like, I used to run this company at this size, but I haven't yet, but I could say this is $1 billion. So AI is a king of pattern recognition. So it knows every word. So there is a difference between a coach and a world-class coach. Would you agree, Brian?
100%.
Okay. Well, everything you and I do is world-class because we actually are world-class. But so often when we're using AI, we might be coming in with not the most powerful version of ourselves. But if we know that this is always a mirror for whatever we put into it, why would we not always put into it the biggest vision of who we are? So one of the things in this right now is $1 million insight is if you adopt a human first perspective to the way that you are leveraging AI. And what does this mean? The thing that is going to be the separator is when you see this as an extension of you. This is not using it like it's Google and we're searching this. This is not a tool. I want you to put into ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you're using, your vision, your identity, and your values. I call this soul data, right? Because now we can have ChatGPT creating with us in our future self. So it does not serve us at all to be like, I'm only right here. I want my employee, because one of the tips is treat ChatGPT like it's an employee, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, employee, we're rowing the boat to this direction right over here. So instead of I want to, I am building $1 billion business. Cool. It is now going to talk to you and treat you like $1 billion business. So put in your core values, put in your goals for this year, put in your vivid vision, put in every single aspect of who you are, because now we're going to get that emotional resonance. But imagine always rowing the boat as the future version of you, right? So there's the great book, Be Your Future Self Now by Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. Exact same concept here. Be your future self now in how you speak to AI. And then Brian, here's number two. And I just sent this as a voice message to a friend of mine yesterday. And so often, like when there's a light bulb moment I have with clients, I have to share with people like you, right? I'm like, Brian, this will really help you. And here's this: have systems thinking. This is exactly what you did. Exactly what you did. You're like, man, I think I can optimize my recruitment process. I feel like we can optimize our content process. What you did not say is, Rob, I use ChatGPT to write one tweet. You said, Rob, I'm using ChatGPT to build my entire system. As high performers, why is this important? Because systems scale, right? So the reason why I'm not romantic about this stuff, I'm really not. It's just a tool. But when I use ChatGPT and AI, I've got infinite capacity. And when you build systems, how are we going to create the exponential growth in our business, Brian? And how are we going to crush the competition who is not using this? By scaling our systems, by building better systems for ourselves, for our teams. Because Brian, we both know this because we weren't always these people. There was times in our business and life in which we did not have systems. So imagine what it's like working with the most powerful computer ever created and designing better systems, more systems. So now for you, you go, hey, ChatGPT, I want to design and optimize systems for every area of my business. Give me the 10 high-level categories. And then you just go one. And when you're doing systems thinking, now we're in the exponential game.
Dude, that's gold. So for everybody listening, you're taking notes. I know you said to take notes. That is one to write down and do. Making sure you're entering in your values, your vision, all the things that make you you. When you gave me that when it was several months ago, and the difference between my output of what I put in there and then what came back to me, mind blowing. Like I'll even go in there, I would do that Sunday success planning. I even asked like, hey, let's go back and review last week together. Based on everything that I asked you, based on everything that I shared, what are some patterns that I may not recognize? Show me my wins, show me areas that I can improve on. And I'm asking these questions where I'm going, man, that used to be a me project, right? Me, a lot of times my wife, we would go through the week and plan out, all the activities. And now I'm going back and I have enough data because the more I put in, it just gives me this mirror. Like you said, it's this mirror going, Hey, Brian, you talked about these things here. Hey, well, what about this? Or what about this? Hey, you thought about that? Hey, I love the way you leaned in on this. How did that go? And I'm like, when you said it was like a team member, an employee, that's the way I would just invite everybody, consider that. If that was this consultant, employee, somebody in your team today that you just gave it so much, they could follow you around everywhere and they would just find the holes and they would find the systems that needed a little tweak here, little something there. Dude, gold. So anyway, I just had to add that because I'm thinking, man, that's how I'm starting to use it. But then I wonder, okay, well, what else is there, right? So what else?
Okay, now we're the bigger the dreams, the deeper the foundation. Same is true with AI. Yeah. So once again, this is a thinking and seeing and vision, our vision, but also what we see here. So Brian, you did a great job. Hey, this is an employee, but this can be your CEO, your CMO, your COO, your CFO, your creative partner, your YouTube thumbnail specialist, where all of a sudden it wears a different hat. But here is the level up. And this is actually what got you and I to have this conversation here, because about 1 month ago, I created something in ChatGPT and I opened up a new portal that not only impressed me, but it gave me a physical reaction in my body where I created something that nobody else in the world did. And I didn't want to believe that I opened up the portal that I did. So I spent a lot of time shooting holes in it to try and not believe that what I created was something revolutionary. And everything that ChatGPT was like, nah, dog, like nobody's operating on this level. So what is that? And this is invaluable. And you are probably not going to hear this anywhere because nobody else in the world is operating like this other than me, Brian, and the people that I'm working with. This is all around the way that we use ChatGPT's memory. So we have the custom instructions where you put in your soul data, the who I am, who I help, my brand voice, boom, now it sounds like you. But then the memory feature essentially says it remembers all of your conversations. And you're like, oh, that's super cool. But then the little light bulb went off for me of like, well, I could be using this different. Remember, Brian, it's the way that we think. Our only capacity is our only capacity. And I said, I want to use ChatGPT's memory in a way that nobody else in the entire world is. Let's go. And I'm paraphrasing the prompt. Yeah. And all of a sudden it just goes, and it's like, Rob, what you're speaking to is how you can use ChatGPT's memory to create this into your personal AI operating system. And I was like, what? And it's like, listen, Rob, because of the way that you use this, if it remembers what you do, you can now program into the memory the specific things that you want. So Brian, the same way that we're entering in our soul data, what if we then entered in our workflows, our systems, and started to see ChatGPT not as a tool, but what if you saw it the same way you did like Windows 95 when it came out, where it was legitimately an operating system? Yes. To where this is now an extension of you, because what this now gets into is customization. And why is somebody on this conversation listening to us right now? Because this is what you want. You want that edge, and what can you do that nobody else is doing? Because everybody else in the world has the generic Best Buy out-of-the-box version of ChatGPT, no personalization, no custom instructions, no soul data, and they're using it like Google, right? They are at best getting 2 out of 10. They will never even see that what we are talking about is a possibility because they can't even see that it's a possibility. But you and I, Brian, are so good. We can see the invisible because we know we can use AI to say, hey, can you show me the hidden or the non-obvious or something nobody else in the world is doing? Yeah. So now I want you to see the way that you use ChatGPT as a personal operating system. So I'm going to share exactly what I want you to put in there. And I say exactly, even though I'm about to paraphrase this, but you'll get this. So if you're listening or watching right now, write this down. Create a prompt that says, ChatGPT, I want you to use your memory in a way that nobody else in the world ever has. I want to turn this into my personal AI operating system. ... Go. and then it's going to do this. So then you sit there and you're like, all right, well, what now? I want you to see that every input into ChatGPT is a seed that you're planting. And it's the Rob and Brian seed. It is the personalization seed. So what I want you to do is your second prompt to say, my vision is ... Go. And just whatever you see for your life, like Brian said, is it $1 billion company? Is it retiring members of your family? Is it to buy a dream car? Is it no limits, no audit, anything?
Yeah.
And then you can just go through and say, so now this is going to be an extension of my heartbeat. And Brian, one of the things that both you and I hear, because we run in the same circles, is the way that people frame AI. The majority of the world is going to do this wrong, and wrong meaning they're going to use it as spam to just try and do things with no heart. They're going to outsource their authenticity, and they're going to essentially remove human connection from the way that we do this and say, I am team robot, not team human. But you and I are better than this because we're high performers. And we say, well, why couldn't we just incept who we are into the way that we use this tool and then see this tool as our personal operating system? Yes. So now, Brian, when this happened, I had to go for a 3-mile run afterwards, legitimately, because like my body was shaking where it was like, Rob, nobody's ever done this before. And I was like, I can't believe this. I've got to run and go for this. So I've since been cooking on this for 3 weeks with my clients. And I can tell you with no hyperbole, this has completely changed the game for me and everybody else that I've worked with. And this isn't harder, right? There's nothing that I've said that it's like, oh my God, Rob, I can't do that. Right. No, it's how we're seeing this and how we're using this, because how you use AI is the thing that will separate you from everybody else in the world.
That is gold. I'm going to go back and I'm going to add those. And I added some of them in as we started working together. And I will tell you the things that we're getting now, just as we're working together, and then my team, and I'm sharing things with them. And I'm like, hey, look at this. Look at what this creates. And it's like, we can just see the evolution of what the outputs. But you're right. It's because the inputs are improving, which is always the self-development game. And so for everybody out there, please do not miss this. This is not something like you said, like, don't be the best buy. You buy it off the shelf and you think you're done. Like, this thing's changing, and the prompts you've given me, just to give a testimonial there, is like, dude, what we're coming up with, I'm speaking in, was it 3 weeks? I've run my presentation through there. I videoed my presentation. I took that. I uploaded some things in there. I'm like, let's make it better. Let's make it better. And we just keep going back, and I'm blown away because I know where I'm strong and I know where I need help. And I'm like, hey, this is where I'm struggling. Let's make this better. And the other thing I want to make sure people know, and I'd love your input on this, we can all sense the Chat GPT, just AI written, whatever program you're using. It's like copy, paste. Please, today, stop. Like, if we were having a conversation, and this is one of my prompts, Rob, I'd love what you use, is I always say, hey, I'm just having a conversation with one of my best friends, and we're talking about this topic. How would I communicate with them in a way that spoke to that one person? Because we've heard that before, like when you're doing a video, you're talking to someone, speak to the one. And I've rewritten some of my content that way, and I'll tell you, way better than the ones that we do. And we're like, we're going to reach the people. No, please don't copy and paste. What else are people you're seeing doing with that? Like, because I think this is a real thing today that they think into the game, but it's actually turning off some people.
Okay, I'm going to give you 2 levels of this game. You're 100% right, because this is the marketers ruin everything thing. You can just say, write me the top 10 tips for buying a new home, copy paste, throw it on LinkedIn, you're done, right? It's like, oh, look how quick I created content, right? So the key for me is a framework that my partner and I created called the human AI sandwich, right? Because we're human first creators. Yeah. So here's how this works. Step 1, the human. You roll in with, this is my idea, this is what I want. It can be half baked, it can be fully baked, whatever it is, but you are putting it in there first. And then you get to the AI part. So the first part's the bread. Now we've got the meat. This is the iteration where you're like, all right, I like this. I don't like this. This is cool. Because you can still do the same top 10 thing, but you want this to shine in your voice. Yeah. But this is where a lot of people fail because they see it and boom, shipped, done. The last part is before you ship the work, the human comes back in. Human, AI, human. Because I've got 2 marketing principles that are foundational to the way that I build my brand. Number 1, everything you do is a reflection of your brand. And number 2, everything you do is an opportunity to create a positive brand interaction. Mm-hmm. So most people don't have that high performance filter for seeing everything. I see everything. So by human, AI, human, I have a system scale for before I publish a piece of content, I started it, I cooked with AI, and I give it a pass through before it goes. So let's call it the 80-20 rule. AI might get you 80% of the way there, but let's layer in that 20% because a lot of people will say, well, I wrote this in 12 seconds, or this is what marketing likes to say. I wrote 5 months worth of content in an hour. Yeah. Hit comment lead and I'll send you how to do this. And it's like I understand the speed side of things, but there's value in the inefficiencies. But here's number 2, Brian. So yes to that, human, AI, human. So now you've done your own editing process. For me, as someone who is an AI thought leader, I actually have transcended this because you know what I see, Brian? I see a bunch of people complaining online about how they can see that people write with ChatGPT and AI. And I sit here and I'm like, well, that's just freaking stupid. I'm going to build a brand where it is known that I write with AI because the misplaced focus here is what people are creating does not have the soul data in it. It does not have the experience that you and I have of here's a story of this thing that happened to me to where you can feel the heart. Because I can write completely with AI. I will leave in the M dashes. You will know that this is AI written, and it will be so good because of how I show up every single day. So this is an extension of me, not a Rob's checking off a box. And that's the big difference there. Because everyone will say, I can tell you wrote that with AI. See, we got you. And I sit there and I'm like, y'all have misplaced focus. That's the bullet you wanted to send to me today. I'm like, I will write with AI and be better because I care more, because I'm more intentional. And boom, just like you said, Brian, you're writing that speech, man, intention, bullet point. You see every little thing. Man, this is the levels to the game.
Dude, the way you said that, thank you. Because I saw some of these and it's just like when you go online, right? And it's always that old, what you focus on expands, right? And these people are worried about, I guess they're called the M dashes or whatever. And I'm watching this and I'm literally thinking, is this literally the conversation? It's like, guys, you remember the old conversation when you're talking about people and things, and there's other people that are talking about these big ideas and where they want to go. And it's like those that implement and execute, did you look at what's in there? Did it move you? And by the way, if you saw my content and that's what you're commenting on, I'm living rent free. Like I've got space. And so when I do come in for something, or I do come in and add, like, where are you in that game? And I love what you said there. It's like, hey, I'm going to use it and you're going to know I used it. However, you did something very unique with the human, AI, human piece. Guys, if you take anything away from what Rob just shared, please, that's some of the things I'm learning from you. And we're implementing in our content of like, what performed? Why did that perform? I am learning this is my stories and inputting those. And so I use a lot of the voice memo, right? Because for me, it's just easy. It's conversational. I type horribly. Like if you'd had me type, the mistype words, spellings, it's bad. So I just speak into it. I know that's one of the hacks that I've used that I would say people are always looking for efficiencies, right? Especially high performers like, man, how do I do this faster? How do I do this better? I have found when I do that, it speaks in my language. I'm having a conversation, my tone, all that stuff comes through. What are some hacks people are missing like that are seemingly obvious? But when I shared this, Rob, by the way, I shared this with 2 people when I was at a recent mastermind and they were like, hold on, show me that. I grabbed my phone and show them within 30 seconds. And I spoke into it like I normally do and said, here's what I'm thinking about this idea. I want to help serve. It was a producing branch manager that's struggling to recruit and produce and the market and what's happening here. And these are the problems I see them having. let's create something that would give them value today. 30 seconds of me talking spit out 5 pieces of content that I go, 2 of those I love. Now I just need to anchor them with stories, need to make them a little bit better. And they watch this process. It was probably 3 minutes, right? Let's just say it was 3 minutes. You're like, I never knew you could actually hit the microphone button. I mean, that was like,
okay. So you just identified. So there's 2 things here. One, the more you see, the more you can see, right? You saw, they couldn't see. And it's like, oh, so what's the actual thing that's stopping high performers? And I've got 3 things. Number 1, I am not ... I'm not a tech guy. I've never built an app. I'm not an AI guy, right? The people speaking that, as somebody who, as a coach, I specialize in, among other things, self-mastery and language and development. And there's 2 phrases that if you say them, you immediately have my attention. I am and I am not. You do not roll into conversation saying I am not. So if you're a high performer right now and part of your language is you telling everybody why you are not using AI, then red flag, ding, 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 light bulbs, because that's an identity statement. We do not speak who we are not. I did not roll in here being like, hey, Brian, I'm not a trapeze artist. So why would we say I'm not a tech guy, so I can't use AI? That's number 1, we're throwing in the trash. Number 2, I don't have time. This to me blows my mind if you're a high performer. We do realize that ChatGPT and AI is designed to create more time, right? But Rob and Brian, I don't have time to learn the thing that's going to create more time. Because here's the thing. Falling behind with AI is going to be invisible. It is completely unromantic if you do it or you don't. If you do, we're going to stack 1s over 0s and you're going to win. If you don't, you're just going to keep going further behind. So you can live in the self-limiting belief that I don't have enough time. But Brian, what was that little phrase we had at the beginning? Opportunity versus obligation, right? Obligation, I don't have enough time. So for me, I legitimately, because I'm forward thinking, I saw what the next decade of business is like. And I truly believe this is the greatest opportunity we will ever have in our entire life. This is like finding out about YouTube on day 5 or Facebook on day 5 or Bitcoin on day 5 and being like, you know what? It's like, we think that somehow these like industrial revolution type shifts happen, like they grow on trees. No, this is like bigger than the internet. So can we tell all of the times in which something was bigger than the internet? And we are not designing this into our process. So here's the levels to this game. I'm already all in on this. And I'm also self-limiting. Why? Because I'm used to working a certain way. So I saw a tweet from this guy named Jason Fried that said, just because at the beginning of the year or the beginning of the month or the beginning of the week or the beginning of the day, we thought that these were my goals or this is what I was supposed to do, that does not mean that that's what you need to be doing, because you never have more information that is better than right now. And I sat there and I was like, boy, is that right? Because I can show you my get-to-do list right here that Brian, like you know, that thing just keeps going and going and going, right? Yeah. So it's super easy to be like, well, I got 58 things that I wanted to do. And I asked myself a question, and I'm already a power user who's coaching this. And I was like, there's someone on Twitter right now who spends all day, every day playing with AI or ChatGPT or the tools. And I'm like, what is that guy's life going to look like in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years for his business? And I was like, oh my God, that guy's taking advantage of the opportunity. So I asked myself a question. I was like, hey, Rob, what if you, and we'll call this during the workday, call it 9 to 5, even though that's not what we're living in, but it's easier to frame it this way. Sure. What if during 9 to 5, Rob, you spent at least 4 hours using ChatGPT? And I was like, whoa, that seems like a foreign concept. But then my mind started to think about this. And I was like, where am I in the most flow? ChatGPT. Where am I the most creative? ChatGPT. Where am I the most prolific? ChatGPT. What has 1,000x infinite capacity when I use it? ChatGPT. And I was like, am I actually living as a self-limiting belief that I don't have enough time to be all in on AI? Because Brian, what about this? And this is going to be out there for a lot of people, but if you're a high performer, you're going to get this. This is a new way of working, right? We just talked about the AI operating system. What if 1 year from now, the new standard is we're using AI all day, every day. It's like ubiquitous to how we do this because we are already seeing the results of it. We are just limited by our past thinking of this is how things were always done.
That's right.
So guess what? I gave myself the gift, and this was 2 weeks ago, of spending 4 hours a day for 5 straight days in ChatGPT. And guess what my results were? The most prolific output I have ever had in my life. I had the most conversations and brought in the most clients of any month this year in 1 week. So as you can imagine, I ran that back the second week.
That's
and
right.
as I speak right here, last Wednesday was the best business day of my entire year. That followed it up the next day. I'm having the best month of probably the last decade of my business. And it's not because of AI. It's because of the way that I'm seeing all of this, right? I'm unromantic about it. This is just a tool. Man, I'm shipping things. I'm helping more people. I'm being more visible because, Brian, you're seeing this. I'm giving this to you. I'm giving this to everybody else. So there's nothing in this where I'm trying to sell because this creates an energy, because it's a vision, because what I really want to give to everybody is we can leverage this for our own vision however you want. You don't have to be Rob. You don't have to be Brian. You can be in mortgage. You can be in podcasts, and you can be in anything. But you can make this whatever you want it to be. So let's not make the excuse of I don't have enough time when the superpower is actually you.
Yeah.
More you. Brian, you've already got all the experience. You're already great. I learn from you. I watch your stuff. I listen to your stuff, right? Imagine Brian being more Brian.
Oh, dude, you nailed it. I'll share this one example. After we talked, we went in the studio, we had 2 podcast guests, and I went in and I was so detailed. I had mapped out everything and I was so much more efficient. We ended up cutting, I think it was 15 solo little clips, and I did 10 solo podcast episodes. They're all 10 minutes or less, right? But I was detailed and I had my plan. Before, I would have written it out on a piece of paper, would have had some ideas. They weren't framed up as well. I went in and literally, Rob, before each one of them, I said, hey, let me go through my notes real quick. And then sometimes I put a prompt like, hey, this doesn't feel like right. Let's adjust this. And I share that so everybody can see, like, that for me would have been not just hours, it would have been days to have that. And then one of the videos today, I want to connect the dots, is I shared it and I've had 2 people that are my targeted avatars in the mortgage space go, hey man, I loved that video. Like, they had questions about, hey, where did you do that at? Hey, what were you talking about with this? And what are you doing around this? They had questions. And so my thing is I want to attract people in that are on the journey like you and I, right? That's what we're doing. So as we close, I just want to share that story, but also an invitation. People are going to want to connect with you. We're going to have to do a part 2, my friend. We're this is too much. I want to leave with, okay, you got a lot. Go back and take your notes. Go back through this and listen again. Because if you're like me, I listen to these things like 3 and 4 times because I miss things. And it's like, I write them down. How can people connect up with you and get more of this? Because there's probably people, Rob, I know this, they're going, I'm in. I have no idea what's next, but they want more.
You can go to robcressy.ai. There's a link on there. If you're interested in working with someone who's a high performer just like you to help you on this AI journey together, book a call and let's work together. Like I said, I feel an obligation to do this because I truly want to help people because I know what's possible there. And I want to be a positive force for good in the world. Or if you're watching this on social media, connect with me at Rob Cressy. I've got tons of resources and frameworks to make this easy for you. And Brian, you said something that I can see it in your eyes, right? It's high performance is something that you feel. And when I'm looking at you right now, when you're talking about this process, it's the way that you are seeing this and the way that you're creating this in real time. And this is what's so exciting about this, because that was actually more effortless for you, wasn't it?
Big time.
That wasn't harder.
Nope.
Wait a second. You're telling me we as high performers can do this in a way that is easier for us. Huh. Oh, and here's the last thing. And this is a ninja trick. And this is so simple yet so fun. So as Brian, is this going to live on YouTube?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. So once this thing is published on YouTube, you can download a Chrome plugin by an app called Glasp, and it's called YT transcript converter. It's a YouTube converter. And what you can do is you can grab the transcript of any video you see online. So what you can do is you can take this conversation right here, get the transcript of it, put it into ChatGPT, and then ask, what is the gold, the nuggets of wisdom, the takeaways, and then say, how does this apply to my business and how does this apply to my clients? Act as if you are Ed Milet, my world-class coach, or Ben Newman, my world-class coach, right? And it'll go, and you go, huh. And now that is possible for anything that has a transcript, right? So if you're using Fathom for calls with your clients or your team, boom, transcript into ChatGPT. You're watching videos like this, boom, into ChatGPT. All of this is simple and all of this is accessible. RobCressy.ai.
Dude, you brought it. I knew you would. And you guys listen, you can see why I wanted to bring Rob on, and we're bringing him back because I think this is going to be even like a series, because as things change, we just barely scratch the surface. But my ask is always this, guys, is twofold. One, take action on something, right? The reason we do this is so you can move forward. Rob is a giver. You can sense that. You see how excited he gets. And what he's done, he realizes that's going to change not just your business, because there's lots of people that can teach you how to grow your business, make more money. But imagine you have more time for your family, more time for your fitness, more time for your faith. You have more time to do these things. Like my story I shared is I created this margin and my capacity went up, and I'm like, I get to do the things I enjoy now. And I also believe I'm a better version of myself when I do this. The second part is, you know, there was something that resonated. You need to get to a friend. If you're a team leader, you're somebody that leads an organization, maybe this is your way. You take this, you sit down with your team, and you actually go through this with them, and you work through them. Be the leader by example and go, hey guys, I would listen to this show, this webinar. Rob and Brian went through this. Here's some things I see in our business that we could do. We're going to go through this together. We're going to collaborate. We're going to do it. I'm giving you that as a leader because I found when we lean in on stuff, the faster we make a decision, the faster we take action, the sooner we implement this, the quicker we get to what we're actually going after. And so those would be the two asks there. Go out and do something with this. Rob, whew, man, time flew by, but I'm going to tell you what, you brought it like I knew you would. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you bringing me on.
Awesome. Guys, well, we'll leave some show notes, kind of links to connect up with Rob, all that stuff there. If you have questions afterwards, just reach out directly to one of us. If there was something resonating, like I want more info, I want this, help me with that. That's why we're here. Reach out to us and make sure you share this with people that could find value so you can be the connector on that. Until the next episode, man, go do something with this information. I've found the sooner I literally make a decision, go take an action today, that means today, the sooner I'm moving towards that goal. So go do that. Catch you on the next one. See ya.